Hello, I'm in a very small room currently. I'm surprised I can actually stand up in here. My name is Expedition Josh, and in this video we're going to be talking about potentially the most beautiful drone spot in the whole of Australia. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to talk briefly about one of the most beautiful and extraordinary places in the whole of Australia. It fills me with delight to think about this place. It was one of my favourite places to go when I was there, and it is an amazing drone spot. Even photography wise, or just a place to explore and see, this place is really one to go to. So let's go back a little bit. Prior to this, like spending my time in England, I had no sort of exposure to the outdoor life, and I think as a British person you don't really have any way of incorporating that into your lifestyle. It's very abnormal. People that live by the coast or by the beaches potentially do some like water sports, that kind of stuff, and walking is a popular hobby, but mostly, and for the majority of people that live in England, life consists of working a lot, living in a space usually without much of a garden, and there's a lot of pub culture, and there's a lot of free time and hobbies and things that take place and take precedent that are not involved with outdoor activity, where the difference with this to Australia is the lifestyle is just sort of completely integrated with the outdoors. Everything seems to be about the outdoors. They still seem to work equally as hard, but they spend much more of their free time, and especially the weekends, having barbecues, going to the beach, potentially surfing or swimming, and there's a lot more of that culture. And part of that is obviously the weather. They have a lot more beautiful weather than we have, but also it just seems more like the Aussie way of life, and you can see that in a lot of British people that move over there. A lot of these POMs that move over there sort of readily adapt this as their new lifestyle and usually come to enjoy it quite a lot. And that was the same for me. I mean, I found myself in England before, and I was interested in a lot of activities I do my own. I wasn't interested in walking. I wasn't really interested in photography. Travel as a whole, obviously, something interests me as a form of escapism. But I was sort of staying at home and doing a lot of things indoors. I used to watch a lot of movies. I used to watch a lot of movies. I used to read a little bit, but not a lot. Mostly the game and just sort of the activities that seem to go so well with the English way of life. And I used to go to the pub a lot, and as much as it pained me to stay, I tried to stay away from that mentality. But a lot of life for people near where I live is revolved around the pub, and you work and people look forward to the weekend so they can go for a drink. And don't get me wrong, Australians still drink quite a lot, but the culture seems slightly different, and they're a little bit more careful on the whole drink thing. So there's a lot of differences between the two countries. And the big thing I found is this outdoor lifestyle, and something I get used to really quickly is starting to go to beaches, having campfires on beaches, going swimming, hanging around with people that are surfing, taking photos at sunset over the beach. So this becomes like a normal part of your day, and it was a really lovely thing just to wake up every day and I could walk along the beach and sort of just imagine yourself in some form of paradise. And the other thing that comes from this is sort of a love and desire to learn more about ocean life, and the marine side. There's so much there. I mean, the first experiences of seeing these things is very surreal, sort of creatures that you would never imagine. I mean, you see a fox or a rabbit in England, it's quite exciting, or a deer is probably the peak of excitement. It's sort of the unicorn of the forest, it appears, and it's a lovely sight to see. But I can never forget some of the experiences, sort of sitting on the beach, and I'm seeing whales cross over and they're on their migration down the coast, and I'm watching like the spouts of water come up and seeing them jumping and playing in the distance, and seeing dolphins come around, lots of fish, and going diving for the first time and being able to go underneath the water and see corals and all this wonderful life beneath the waves. And I can understand why a lot of travellers and a lot of people from Australia and other countries where they have the ability to do these things have a far bigger appreciation for conservation and the natural world. And this is such a place. So there's a place called Moreton Island. Probably my favourite photos that I've got on my Instagram, the favourite like videos I've taken, and sort of some of my best experiences have happened on Moreton Island. It's a wonderful little place to visit. I don't know if you could call it little, but as you come down to Brisbane, Brisbane's right in the centre of the coast, and straight across from it is Moreton Island. It's a super easy thing to do. So at the time I was working, so I worked 3 days a week, and that's all I needed to work, so that would give me enough money. And then once I'd finished work, I'd grab all my stuff. I'd grab some snorkeling gear, so I had I had a wetsuit, I had some fins, I had my mask and goggles, my mask and snorkel and all this kind of stuff. So I'd have all that sort of with me. I'd have this big bag, I'd have a little tent in there that I bought for £5. Literally just that, and plus a bit of food, like enough to last 2 or 3 days, and some big bottles of water. So I'd grab this stuff and I would go on this bicycle. I head down to the train station, sort of pedalling along, trying to keep my fins from getting caught in the wheels and carrying all this heavy gear. And I'd head off to this island, and I would spend 2 or 3 days there in a little tent, sort of just enjoying this solitude on this sort of island where during the week no one was really there. As you come in, so you come in on a ferry. You come in on a small ferry that comes across, and you arrive at the beach. And straight there from the arrival, the point you arrive, there's all these shipwrecks. So there's all these boats that are sort of shipwrecked round. I think there's about 14 of them, and they're sort of positioned one after another, and they're now home to the most abundant reefs. And there's just a variety of animals, lots of dolphins, there's whales you can see in the distance, in the early mornings there's turtles, so if you go snorkeling really early on, at sort of like 5 AM, 6 AM when the sun's rising, no one's around and you can be on your own. And I know I shouldn't really recommend this because there's some danger to it, but every morning I would go out, I'd fin across to the wrecks, and on my own I would do some snorkeling. So I'm snorkeling around these wrecks and I'd be exploring them and discovering things, and it would literally just be me and the turtles. Every morning there'd be a couple of turtles just gliding around, and I would just witness them, and I'd just sort of like hold my breath. I'd sort of be looking down into the water with my mask on, and I was just seeing them going through and moving through these wrecks. It was just an incredible experience, and one that I just wanted to go back to time and time again. So it kind of became like my little hotspot, as it were. So I took my drone there one time. Drones are notoriously heavy and frustrating bits of kit to carry around. So I was determined anyway. I brought it on my back, and my drone's a Mavic Pro, so it's about this big. I don't know if you can see it, and that big, and then the wings come out, so it's a big old bit of kit. The controller's about this big, and it's all this weighty stuff. But I was intrigued to see what it looked like from above. So I took the drone up, I flew the drone up into the air, and I was amazed with the results. I was honestly blown away. Even on the little screen, I have a tiny little screen that I can see what the drone's seeing, and I'm starting to take photos. And it was just picturesque. I'd never had anything like it. I'd taken lots of drone photos and videos in other locations all over the world. But nothing had come to this. Nothing had sort of compared to this moment. And I just found myself completely forgetting what I was doing. I was just flying around taking photo after photo. My battery was dying, and I had no intention of returning home to change it. I just wanted to spend as much flying time as I could. And because I was doing it early on in the day, there was just no one around. I'd occasionally have a boat or a car driving past, but it was just incredible to see. And as I moved through the wrecks, I was discovering more. So as you take the drone through the wrecks, you can actually, from above, because the water's so clear, during a point of low tide or when the water's slightly lower, you can see the reefs from above. So you can see them growing out of the shipwrecks from the drone. It's an incredible thing. And as you move the drone around and you sort of go around the area surrounding it, there just seems to be this multitude of marine life, and I found myself spotting dolphins constantly. Dolphins just swimming along and playing, and just they're enjoying their time so much. And you just see them just flitting about, like tracing sort of the line of the beach and heading off. And it really was an unforgettable experience. I'm probably going to talk a bit more about this when I have some snorkeling footage. I've got some of that lined up to kind of show you guys and go into more detail about what it was like to actually snorkel there and explore the wrecks a little bit. But I just wanted to make a point to show you this footage and show you some of the photos that I've taken there, because it is a real gem. I feel like some people visit there. I don't know how many now. I presume weekends and stuff it's more busy, but really it doesn't seem that a lot of people go there. And for Australia, that has, you know, in Queensland where weather is pretty good all year round, is definitely the spot to go to. So if you're considering it, if you're someone that's currently on the East Coast, if you're backpacking or travelling down in a caravan, there's a lot of islands there. Stradbroke Island's a popular one. What's the other one that's... Fraser Island is probably the most famous, where they do tours and stuff. But if you want something a bit different, somewhere that most people haven't heard of, and you sort of wouldn't take a tour to, but you go on your own or with a friend, head to Moreton Island, because it is a beautiful location. And if you have a drone, you absolutely love it. If you're into snorkeling, you will. If you're into beaches, the experience is one that you will have forever. So I highly recommend it, and I just thought I'd say a little pointer to this wonderful little island, this sort of place that no one seems to have heard of as I talk about it, and hopefully you enjoy the footage. If you want to hear more from me, I've got another video coming about the Moreton Island adventure. I'll talk a little bit more about my first time there, actually snorkeling there, and some of the stories with other people that I've taken. I've got heaps of other videos on my channel. I'm bringing out new videos every single Thursday, and if you want some behind the scenes content, you can always join me on Patreon. See you later.